You.
Hello and welcome to the Basketball Addicts Podcast. The podcast, the only one in the world that answers the one question that everybody wants to know is how are you getting first outside the finals? You can't even get in. How can you hate from outside the draft? You like what I did there, didn't you? How can you hate from outside the NBA
I did.
draft when you can't even get in? And this is part 2. This will be 16 to 30. This is, like I said earlier in part 1, this is one of my favorite episodes to do because I learned so much from Jason. Jason really takes a lot of time, puts a lot of effort into these.
True.
So hopefully you enjoyed this as much as I do, and I have a front row seat, so I couldn't be happier.
That's a fact.
Man. So go ahead, Jay. Tell me about 16.
All right, number 16 is Ty Washington, point guard from Kentucky, 6'3", 6'8" wingspan. This guy is a really good distributor. I mean, he has a really good feel for the game of basketball, really good passer. Other than that, he's also a good shot creator. He has a really very, very consistent mid-range pull-up where he gets to the elbow and he'll pull up if the center's in drop coverage. It's very consistent. It's going to be something that's going to translate to the next level. He does show some flashes of, shot creating for himself, but in the most pure sense of the word, he plays the point guard position very pure in the sense of he's not going to ever be a guy that's going to average more than 22 points per game. But what he is going to bring to the basketball floor is being very efficient. Like he may not be like really flashy with the step back threes or like have all of these moves, but he comes around and screen and he can hit the dribble pull up three if the big's down. You know what I mean? Or, he does have enough in the bag to shot create for himself. He kind of moves at a slower pace that is his pace, but he controls the pace and he makes the defender play at his pace. He's a really high basketball IQ, and he's just going to be a smooth operator, man. He's going to be one of those guys that's just a very consistent 16-8, 16-7. That's going to be a really good point guard. That's what I think he can be. I just don't view him as ever becoming a superstar. I don't think anybody else really does. He's usually around this range. So yeah, I have Ty Washington here.
Well, he's also from Kentucky too. That's kind of a storied program where they normally, they only put really good talent, into the draft.
Yeah, I think he had one crazy game where he had like 17 assists or something like that.
Oh, so he's a pure facilitator. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, he really can read the floor.
Okay, so for last season, because he only played in total his career, I just say it that way, because he only played 31 games because he's entering the draft, so he probably won't come back for his season. For the next season, probably just it's one and done. So 12.5 points, 3.5 rebounds, and 3.9 assists. Pretty solid player. He's like in the middle.
Yeah, I mean he's one of those guys that doesn't have over anything like glaring weaknesses at the point guard position that makes me say, "Wow, that's a terrible thing to have." Like he's not 6 foot or 5'11". That's pretty terrible to have. It's it's not like he can't shoot 3-point shots. That'd be pretty terrible to have. Like he has all the traits. It's just he doesn't have anything amazing about him.
Yeah,
that's the best way I can describe it. Yeah.
Fair.
All right, we're going to move on to number 17, which is one of the more one-sided players in the draft, where one side of the basketball is way better than what he does on the other side. And his name's Jeremy Shawn from Baylor, 6'9", and he's a good rebounder. He's not an amazing three-point shooter. I think he shoots around 30%. That's something he's going to work on to be able to do at the next level. He's a very much above average passer. Not a great passer yet, but a very much above average passer at the power forward position, which is where his intrigue will lie offensively. He'll probably just be a rebounder, a screen setter, a passer, all of those type of things. And you might be saying to yourself, Jason, why is this guy going in the draft? Well, the reason why this guy's going in the draft is he's the best defender in the draft. He is special. He is in the Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley realm for defenders that I've seen coming out of the NBA, out of the draft. It is Draymond Green-ish. legitimately. I've seen him switch 1 through 5. His movement skills are ridiculous. His lateral movement skills are ridiculous. He might not have the computer of a brain defensively like Draymond Green does, but he's just similar in the fact of where he's a one-man defense. He really is. His movement skills, his ability to pick up everybody, it's special. It really is. He has also a really good feel for defense, understands timing, when to jump, when not to jump. It's just a special defender. And 6'9", that's the perfect height for the power forward position. There's a lot of teams that are in the late 18 to 20 that are teams trying to be in the playoffs that he's going to fit perfectly on. Like the Minnesota Timberwolves have a pick in this range. They would love him. Like this is a guy that just defensive gifts is just oozing out of his body. That's Jeremy Shaw.
He also won 6th Man of the Year this season, Big 12 for the Big 12, and he made the All-Freshman team.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So he only played 30 games. Mm-hmm. So 9.2 points, 6.4 rebounds, and 1.8 assists. That's another
doesn't
solid
do
player.
Much. It does. Yeah, I mean, name me power forwards that can pick somebody up full court press that I've seen do that before. It's a very short list because they were down a little bit in the March Madness, and I watched them try to make a comeback, and he was like everywhere on the floor. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then, are you ready to transition to the next guy?
Yeah.
Number 18 is Dyson Daniels. Now, a lot of people have him really high. He played in the G League last year, so he's also originally from Australia, which is an interesting storyline for the coming to the G League. 6'11", 6'7", 6'11" wingspan, so he's really big. Point guard. So this guy can finish around the rim, has a really good touch for finishing around the rim. He's also a really good passer. Now, I wouldn't say he's the best passer in the draft, but I would say that he has the best... maybe he doesn't have the highest basketball IQ, but he has the most gifts passing wise, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Where like he can make passes that nobody else can make, where it's full court passes and it's on the money. Like, you know what I mean? Like the flashy passes that you go ooh and ah with, he has those in his bag. Now he may not be like a great basketball IQ dissector of defenses, something like that. No, he's not really that kind of guy. He's like a CP3 or something like that, but he is very much a gifted passer and just like passing as an ability. He's going to be really good at the point guard position. I wouldn't be surprised if some people want to compare him to Josh Giddey. I think Josh Giddey's a little bit better, but I don't think that's too terrible a comparison. His negative is shooting, though. The guy shoots 25% from the 3-point line, and that scares me a lot. So, at the point guard position, I really value that 3-point shooting, because if you don't have it, you better have ridiculously elite traits. Even though he has elite traits in size, he doesn't have elite traits in athleticism. Like he is just not. He's an average athlete, if I had to be completely blunt with you. But, if he gets to the wrong situation where they don't have a spot open at point guard, this is a guy that could bust because he's not getting the right minutes at the right spots. Because if somebody's like, oh, he's going to be our 2 guard, it's just going to not work. He needs to have the ball in his hands, and he needs to have the team with the vision to put the balls in his hands and to utilize them. So fit's going to really matter for him. You know what I mean? Washington, New Orleans, places that really need point guards. He might get drafted a little higher than where he's at because of need, and, some teams in the lottery really need point guards. So, that's my take on Dyson Daniels.
Because he's from the G League, there's no stats for him.
Oh, that you could find? Yeah. I was able to find some a while back, and I just know off the top of my head it's 25% from the 3-point line. I actually know some of my notes. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dyson Daniels.
Yeah, it's a really fun name, though.
Yeah, DD.
Oh, that's another bad joke that could be there. Okay.
Double D.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to. Oh, the mind of a male. All right. Number 19 here is Christian Coloco from Arizona, junior. This guy is 7 foot with a 7'5" wingspan. Really nice. Now he's not as bulky as a Mark Williams, but he is definitely built kind of like Clint Capella, where it's slender, ripped. Um, what I would say about this guy is, yes, he can shot block at the rim. Yeah, I mean, he's a very good athlete. He's one of the better athletes at the center position. He has a really good feel for being a role man and where to be, to catch lobs, and where to put pressure on the defense, and a good screener. He's experienced. But where I really, really like him more than a lot of people is I believe he can switch. I believe he has really good lateral quickness and fluidity in his hips. And I really feel like a defensive center, because it's important today, man. Like, we live in the league where if your center can't move and he gets exposed, there's a gazillion guards in the NBA that can expose him. Yeah. We have a list of probably 64 guys that can expose him. Even a guy like Jalen Brunson, who may be a bench guy, can expose a guy that just can't move. So, you know, it's integral, and because of those values, I really view him as extremely valuable, because this guy can have a 10-year career just because of out of defensive brilliance, rebounding, and screen setting, and being a lob threat. He doesn't really have any skill other than that, but he does all those things at elite level. He's polished. He's a junior coming out of college. He's really understands his role, and I really feel like Christian Coloco is a little underrated.
I can see that. He had the most improved player of the Pac-12. He was also defensive player of the year. Yeah, he was on the all defensive team. I think this was like his second year in college, maybe, because it says for his career he played 91 games. So it was 37 games.
Probably three. Probably third 3. Year.
Maybe he didn't play as many games.
Yeah, my notes said he was a junior.
He was a junior? Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. So 12.6 points, 7.3 rebounds, and 1.4 assists just this season. And for his career, he averaged 7.3 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 0.7 assists.
Yeah. That's good stats.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right. You ready to? I'm about to go ahead and move forward to the next guy. Okay. The next one is Kennedy Chandler from Tennessee, point guard at number 20. He's a freshman. This guy has really great quicks. Really, really just laterally gifted. He's more of a gifted quick than extremely fast guy, but that's really going to help him coming off of screens, running off ball, exposing pick and rolls, those type of things. He can really finish around the rim with finesse. Definitely has finesse around the rim. His 6'5" wingspan, yeah, exactly like Chris Muhammad. 6'5" wingspan, 6-foot body. That really is going to help him. I was really worried that he's going to be 5'10" or 5'11". He looks way smaller on a TV screen. So that's originally scared me a little bit. He was originally a little lower. Really good passer. Really, really good passer. Really, really good. If we had to give passing a 2K grade, I'd give him an 88 for a rookie, for an NBA draftee. It's out of 100. So, he has a really good feel for that, and he can shoot the lights out the ball. He can really shoot the 3-point shot. Now, it's not like he's shooting, tough contested threes. No, but when it's open, it's going down most of the time. He reminds me a lot of Patty Mills. Patty Mills has been a really good rotational point guard for a long time. He's not an overly gifted athlete or an overly gifted shot creator for himself, but he's a very good, solid point guard. He's probably 15 years in the NBA. That's a great career. So that's the way I view Kennedy Chandler. I really think that, teams looking for a point guard position, I would really, this is a good point guard to have on your team. Yeah.
Yeah. Kennedy Chandler. Well, he was the MVP of his conference, I think, or the tourney. Played
SEC
34
tourney.
games. Yeah, the SEC
Mm-hmm.
tourney. He played 34 games in his entire career, and in those games, he averaged 13.9 points,
Mm-hmm.
3.2 rebounds, and 4.7 assists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really passed the basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's number 20 right there.
Moving right
All right,
along.
number 21 is Jalen Williams from Arkansas. 6'10" with a 7'1" wingspan. Now, a lot of people have him early second round. I'm a little higher on him because of versatility. The versatility that I love about him is, he's kind of like some other guys that are on this list where, yeah, he can rebound the basketball. Yeah, he can set screens. Yeah, he can be a lob threat. Now, he does attempt more 3-point shots than some guys that are on the list. So there is potential for that moving forward, but I just don't think he had a really good percentage at that. But he's a pretty decent free throw shooter. But the reason why I really like him is defensively, because at 6'10", he is a gifted mover laterally and vertically, like very, very gifted. And sometimes, that can be intriguing to a certain extent where it's like, how good is this really going to be? Well, the thing I really like about him, he has really good basketball IQ. Like, he really understands defense. You know what I mean? He just seems like he's always at the right place at the right time. He's that kind of guy. He also has he's by far the best player at X at this draft, and that's drawing charges. I mean, it's Anderson Varejao out-ish, where he is gifted at drawing charges. So that's going to really impact people at the rim. The reason why I love him so much is if you want to have a small ball center, hello, sign me up. Okay. This guy is like, before the Dallas Mavericks made their trade to get Christian Wood, this is the guy that I was like, in my mock draft, I really would try to get him to Dallas Mavericks because the fit would be seamless. Right. So in the West, he's in, if you have a power forward, you know what I mean? Position open, it's not going to be that bad because he's still going to guard 1 through 5. Because if you have him on your team and he's in power forward position, he's going to be guarding 1 through 5. He's going to be able to be a good screen setter. He's going to be really athletic and smooth. And so because of his versatility of being that end, another thing is guys in this range aren't usually going to be starters right away. And what I love about his versatility as well is he could be your backup power forward and center at the same time. That's where things get interesting, where he can be so many different things that, it depends on your scheme. But I would love a guy like this if I'm playing small ball. Like this is a dream come true for a small ball center. You know what I mean? And it's going to depend on fit, but there's a lot of teams in this range that are needing of defensively gifted guys, and he's one of those guys. It's top 5 defender in the draft class. He'd probably be 3 through 5. So Jalen Williams is because also he can put the ball on the ground. He can dribble the ball and drive to the rim and finish. Now he doesn't do it a ton, but it's a skill that's there. There's things to like offensively moving forward that maybe he could develop into. But he has a great mind. He's one of those guys that you can tell just understands the game of basketball because he's just always in the right places. And he's a really great rebounder too, like really high level. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a sophomore, right?
I thought of him as a freshman, but he maybe.
He said 63 games for his career, so that might be a sophomore.
Oh, then you would be right. Yeah, you'd be right.
Okay. So for his career, he averaged 7.9 points, 7.7 rebounds, and 1.8 assists. So it's like
it's the rebounds.
It's the rebounds. Yeah. And then you can really clearly tell where he excels at and what he really is not great at. And then for this season, he averaged 10.9 points, 9.8 rebounds.
double in college. Yeah, right. He's a really good rebounder because of athletic gifts.
Yeah, 2.6 assists. Yeah,
good passer.
Double
for that size.
Machine.
Yeah, he's the these kind of guys are underrated because they're winning basketball players on the right
Mm-hmm.
team, right? They're the role players, the Draymond Greens of the world that make your team fit. And
Mm-hmm.
he's going to be one of those guys in the NBA that could have a long career doing it. Yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead and transition to number 22.
Mm-hmm.
Number 22 is Kendall Brown from Baylor. 6'7" with a 6'11" wingspan, freshman. What he is great at is athletic gifts are dripping out of every pore of this guy's body. I mean, he's the most athletically gifted small forward in the draft, and it's not even close. And that translates to the defensive end. He really, it's like he doesn't, he's not like the next coming of Scotty Barnes, but he's just so ridiculously athletic that he can cover any mistakes. And where it's just like he's on you, like it's like you can't really do anything about it. So that's really going to be an impactful thing in the next level. And he shoots the 3-point shot well enough to be a good 3-point shooter in the NBA. And that's where his intrigue can lie. He could be a high tier 3-and-D player, a Mikal Bridges type. That's kind of what he can be. And you also draft him too because if develops any skill, which he does not have any skill, by the way, other than standstill threes and athletic gifts, attacking closeouts, and defense. But if he develops anything, you're looking at a very good player. So this is a guy that can definitely have a role in the NBA. So he's pretty solid, Kendall Brown.
Alrighty. So in 34 games for his career, he averaged 9.7 points, 4.9 rebounds, and 1.9 assists.
Yeah, role guy, player in the NBA.
Definitely a role guy.
Yeah. All right. We're going to go ahead and transition to a really, really unique guy. There's two really unique guys back to back. The first one is John Butler from Florida State. 7 foot tall, 7'2" wingspan. He's just an extremely unique prospect. He's extremely thin. Like he's so thin, and extra thin. He moves so well because he's so thin laterally that he can guard 1 through 4. He's just so thin that he can't guard through 5 because he's even though he's 7 foot. He's gifted that way, so he can defend at a high level. But where his intrigue is shoots 37% from the 3-point line. Like he's a really interesting prospect because if he develops anything, he can really develop into something special. It's got to be developed. You know what I mean? I personally would have made him go back to college to develop more skill because this is the kind of guy that could be a top 5 pick with his gifts. You know what I mean? 7 foot, can shoot the lights out the 3-point shot. You know what I mean? The way he moves the way he does. And, he can really be a really good 3-and-D guy that's got unique dimensions to him and can bring unique dimensions to your team because you can have him at the 4. Like if 4 years from now he bulks up well enough, you can have him at the 4 and you can have a extra 7-footer without like losing anything shooting wise and defensively and movement and like being able to guard multiple positions. So that's where his versatility is going to be value. And, pair all that with good 3-point shooting. He really can be a good player in the NBA. He's just, he's probably going to have to fill out a little bit more. I wouldn't be surprised if he can't get off the bench for the first year because he's just so thin. It's thinner than Chet.
Yeah. Interesting. So as I'm looking up John Butler, and I know this might be a little bit unrelated, his dad might have played college basketball too, because John Butler came up as well.
That's cool.
There's no way of knowing. Just a little tidbit. So for his career, only 31 games. He averaged 5.9 points, 3.2 rebounds, and 0.7 assists.
Yep. All upside.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. He doesn't have any other skill in the standstill threes right now, but the versatility, NBA length is where things get interesting for him. All right. The next guy I have up is you're probably going to have a tough time finding his stats because he plays for the NBL, the Australian League.
Yeah, probably won't get
Osman Ding. Osman
Who?
Ding. That's a tough one.
Ding,
Ding. Yep. 19
like
years old.
Luau Dang.
Kind of, yeah. 19 years old, 6'9". He was really having a terrible season before the rest of the way through, so he was a little bit lower. But
Mm-hmm.
what really makes him interesting is he's a good passer. He's a
Mm-hmm.
really, really good passer. Passer really well, and he flashes shot creation at his size, and you know what I mean. And those flashes of shot creation are special when you pair that with a 6'9" frame, and you pair that with a good passer. And other than that, he's just not efficient right now, and he's very, very, very raw. These two guys back to back are boom or bust. You know what I mean? These guys can bust out of the league, or they can be high tier starters in the NBA. But he's a really interesting player. He just has to develop more. But he's a pretty decent athlete. He's not an amazing athlete, but you pair all those things together, and you can see why he's ranked where he's at.
Mm. Yeah, I didn't see anything on there. So,
No, it's okay. All right. Well, the next one is Malachi Branham. That's a tough one to spell. Branham. 6'5", 6'10" wingspan freshman from Ohio State. And there's 2 Ohio State Buckeyes. In the last 5 players. IO. At the very least, you're going to get a really good stand-still shooter. He can really shoot the basketball. That's what his gifts are. He flashes more than that, though. He can come off screens, all that type of stuff, and expose screens, but he does flash some shot creation ability from the mid-range for himself. And that's where things become interesting for him. He reminds me a lot of Contagious Caldwell Pope, but taller. I really feel like he can be, at the very least, a role player, a bench guy in the NBA because of 3-point shooting and all the uses you can have for a mid-range and all those type of things coming off screens. So in 6'5" with 6'10" wingspan is the kind of dimensions of a good defender. He's not a great defender. He's not a good defender, but you call him average with potential to move forward. So, this is where this guy is at, Malachi Branham.
I mean, listen. He said Contagious Caldwell Pope. The first thing that popped into my mind was the game that KCP was just running around and following because he couldn't. He couldn't. I was like, as long as he doesn't do that.
It's funny. Oh my
that man he was doing suicides. He wasn't scoring nothing. But yeah, 32 games for his career, 13.7 points, 3.6 rebounds, and 2 assists.
Yeah, that's pretty.
He was a rookie of the year too. Rookie of the year for the Big Ten.
Pretty nice. Pretty nice. All right, we're going to move on to the next guy. Number 26 is an extremely overrated player. I've seen him in the lottery.
Extremely overrated.
Ochai Abajai, 6'5", 6'10" wingspan from Kansas, senior. Ochai Abajai. It's going to be a tough one to spell. Good luck.
I got it.
He's a senior. He's kind of similar to Malachi Branham. He's just doesn't do the mid-range things Malachi Branham does. He's just a 3-point shooting guy where he comes off ball or he shoots off, off the catch and attacks closeouts and does a pretty decent job defending. But that's just not a lottery guy. You know what I mean? And he's a senior as well. I just don't see what everybody's in love with here. I just think it's because Kansas won the national championship and most people got to see him in March Madness. That's why I think he's overrated because of situation. So, I'm not as high on him, even though, because of those things, but he just doesn't do anything else other than those things. He's not overly gifted athletically where I'm just going to be like, man, he's always going to be able to finish at the rim. No, he reminds me a lot of Wesley Matthews. And, I mean, that's a good player in the NBA. That's like a guy in the NBA, but nothing
Not
special.
Wes Matthews though.
My goodness.
Dude.
Go ahead, give me his stats if you found him. A tough name.
NCAA champion.
Yes, good job.
Big 12 Player of the Year.
Yep.
He's also the Big 12 MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of accolades.
Oh yeah.
And then okay, so you play. Oh wait. He might be a senior.
Yeah, he is.
I'm getting senior. Okay, because he for his career, which is 122 games, 13.5 points, 4.4 rebounds, and 1.6 assists. But for this past season,
Ballin'.
39 games, 18.8 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 1.6 assists.
Yeah. Really good college player. Yeah. So is JJ Redick. Oh. I'm so petty, I swear.
Yeah, you put your petty boots on tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, to the next one we go. Number 27, Bryce McGowan's 6'6", 6'8" wingspan. Really good athlete. If you want to go for a boomer bust two guard in the 20 to 30 range, this is the guy you want to go for. Because he's a really good athlete. He operates out of pick and rolls. He makes pretty decent passes as well. And even though he shoots terribly percentage-wise, 25% from the three-point line, he's pulling from the volleyball line, and everything's tough shot creation. So it's a little bit of not really a real statistic of how well he shoots threes, but that 25% is keeping him from being in the lottery, because everything else about him is a lottery player, where he makes good passes, he can finish at the rim with athleticism and length, and he shoots 83% from the free throw line, where that gives enough credence to the idea that this guy's going to be able to shoot threes in the future. He's one of those guys that either is going to be a six man or averaging 20 to 22 points per game. It's a really wide range, and it all depends on that 3-point shot. But, he's a freshman. He's really young. And he got a lot of volume at Nebraska. So it's a guy worth choosing to develop.
Mm-hmm. Bryce McGowan. Got you. Okay. 31 games played for his career. 16.8 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 1.4 assists.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. Yeah. All right. The next guy is the last Buckeye in this range, or even the draft in general. EJ Lidell. That's going to be the easiest name you've heard in a minute. 6'7", 6'11" wingspan, power forward. If this guy was 2 inches taller, this would be a lottery pick. He's about 240 pounds. He's built kind of like PJ Tucker, but taller. That's kind of the size and the frame. Really thick legs. He has the ability to post, but that's nothing to get excited about. But what he really does well is he shoots the 3-point shot really well. It's somewhere from 35, 36, 37% or something like that. But what he does really well is, he has a really good job of mid-range and just being a shot creator for himself. He has a lot of footwork and a lot of moves. And this guy is a guy that really is intriguing to me, where if I needed another guy that could put up 10 to 12 points per game in about 2 years, this would be at the power forward position. I would think about him in this range, because I don't think he's going to be able to really defend really well. And, his height is why he's not super high, but he has real skill. So, I'm a real big height believer. I believe in height to an extreme extent, but 6'7" enough at the power forwards, just enough if you have skill. But he also isn't a great athlete vertically or quickness wise. So that's why, even though he has a lot of skill, that's why I'm not super high on him. And he's usually drafted around this range as well. So I think most people see what he is. So yeah, EJ Lidell at 28.
Okay, so he's a junior. For his career, he played 92 games and averaged 14.1 points, 6.1 rebounds, and 1.6 assists. And then last season, 32 games, 19.4 points, 7.9 rebounds, and 2.5 assists.
No, he's a really good college player. No,
yeah,
that 6'7" power forward scares the poo out of me because you rarely hear about them working around the NBA. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and what?
I said, but we ride with him because OH.
I-O. That's a fact. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and transition to number 29. We got two more guys. Number 29 is Harrison Ingram, 6'7", 7-foot wingspan from Stanford. He's a freshman. Best passing small forward in the draft. Really gifted passer. Almost point guard-ish, point forward. Even as a good description of this guy. If he had more athletic gifts, he'd be kind of similar to Scotty Barnes in the sense of how they play. He's a slow guy. He understands that he's slow. You'll see him do a lot of pump fakes at the rim. You'll see him play slow and fundamental and have high basketball IQ. He is running pick and rolls at Stanford, which is really good. It's a good indicator of guy being skilled and a guy being a high basketball IQ guy. He shoots 31% from the three-point line, which is not amazing, but it's also not trash. So, there's some guys in this draft that shoot like 10% and will probably get drafted. So, not taking a shot at Patrick Baldwin or something like that. Or Marion Beauchamp. So yeah, this guy really, he's a system fit. If he gets drafted, the Spurs have a pick in this range. This is a Spur. This is a Kyle Anderson type, where this guy 6'7", I'm slow as all get it out, but when we get in the half court, if we actually make passes, then my value is there. If you put him the Golden State Warriors, really good scheme fit. If you put him in, the Washington Wizards where they don't move the ball, he's a terrible fit and he'll be out of the league in 2 years. So scheme fit really matters for a guy like this. I don't know why I just took a shot at the Wizards, but they don't really move the ball that much. They got a bunch of guys who want to put up shots there. Yeah. So, this is a guy that's going to really depend on the situation. But on a winning team that passes the basketball, he's a really good fit. So, I would put Harrison Ingram here at 29. I feel like a team, if he goes to the right team, he'll be in the league for a while. And if he doesn't, he'll be one of those, oh my gosh, that guy was in the NBA draft. He was in the league for a little bit. Oh my gosh, who knew? One of those guys. Yeah. Depends on where he goes. All right. Next man up, and the last man up is Mr. Jaden Hardy. A lot of people. So this guy was originally a top 5 pick preseason, and people are so connected to him and so wanting him to be the guy because you thought he was going to be something coming out of high school, that they're forcing him into the 20s or the lottery and stuff like that in mock drafts, and I just think it's ridiculous. But 6'4", played in the G League, so that's probably why it's going to be tough for you to find stats. Every shot for him is a tough shot. Everything's a tough shot. He's not a great passer. He shoots 30% from the three-point line and about 70% from the free-throw line. Where things become scary, and what I think people are not noticing is people. So they're thinking, okay, this guy's a really good shot creator for himself coming into the draft. Oh, his negatives are inefficiency. That's what we really got to worry about here. That's really the negative. No, that's not the only negative. It's a really short list of 6'4" guys that are really great in the NBA that are not above average athletes. And I do not view him as anything above average or just average. So that's where, because he's 6'4", 2 guard, that's really small. Really, really, really small. That's the size of most point guards. Steph Curry's around the same height. Like, yeah, it's small, really small. So paired with the inefficiencies is why I'm like, he's a boomer bust kind of guy. Honestly, he reminds me a lot of one player in particular, Austin Rivers. Austin Rivers is a very you can assume Austin Rivers type of guy from this guy. Where Austin Rivers is not a great athlete, so but he's a tough shot creator and is more efficient as he played in the NBA. But he never did anything special. But he had his role off the bench, and that's where this guy can fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's Jaden Hardy. Yeah,
Jaden Hardy. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just have a couple quick questions since we've finished the big board.
Yes.
What is your criteria, and what do you think the trend is of this NBA draft?
The trend of this NBA draft?
Yeah.
This is...
Are we trending more toward passers, shooters, guards? Is it really guard heavy? Is there a lot of skilled bigs? What are we looking at? What can we expect?
I'll say generational top tier power forward draft, or generational power forward draft in depth and top tier talent and like quantity. Now, it's not like there's a Zion Williams. It's not like there's a Blake Griffin. It's not like there's a Kevin Garnett or a Tim Duncan in this class, but there's just so many guys. Like the 3 of the top 5 guys on my ranking are all power forwards. Then I got Jeremy Shawn, who's a power forward. You know what I mean? Like, it's a deep list of power forwards where the top tier guys are special. And I would say, other than that, this is the role player draft. Whatever your needs are, there's a guy on this draft board that can do this. Because even though I did this big board, the guy at 30 is not that big of a difference between the guy at 45. Like, I've done in my mock draft, there's a guy around ranked, I have 45. That got drafted 28th in my mock draft because the team at that spot needed a guy like that. It's one of those drafts where it's not like everybody's amazing, but if you need X, there is X. You need shot blockers, plenty of them. You need guys who can defend. There's not like a gazillion of them, but there is some of them that are high quality that aren't terrible in offense where they're undraftable, where they at least can shoot a 3-point shot, like a guy like Leaky Black from North Carolina, really good defender, wing defender. He might be ranked around 40 to 50 on my big board, but he might go at the end of the first round because a team might need a 3-and-D wing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's one of those drafts where it's really deep. There's going to be a lot of second rounders that have more than 5-year careers in the NBA just because a lot of them can do roles. This is a role player draft outside of the top 20. Top 20, everybody else is a role guy. That's way I view this draft. There's just so many, and 2 guards are like ridiculously deep 3-point shooters. I mean, it's insane. There's like a Carrion Ellis from Alabama who can hit standstill 3-point shots, and I think he's ranked around 59 to 62 in my big board.
Yeah,
like it's one of those drafts where a lot of 3-point shooting 2 guards that all do other things and maybe might be shot creators. It's one of those. It's a really deep 2-guard draft without any overwhelming top tier talent, unless you consider Jaden Ivey a top tier talent. So that's the way I view this draft.
Wow, yeah.
Extremely poor point guard draft though.
Yeah. So just want to say thanks you, Jason, for taking your time out and really getting that together.
Yes, sir.
Definitely learned a lot. I'm so stoked about, seeing the mock draft where you truly have everybody going all the way through.
It's going to be fun.
Definitely going to be fun. Stay tuned for that, guys. That's coming up soon. We should be dropping all of this around the time of the draft. Not the time of the draft, but the same day as the draft. So look out for all this on Thursday coming to you. Is there
live
anything
on
else you want to add?
location. No, yeah. Thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate any new listeners, anybody that's coming from TikTok or any of the platforms that we're posting stuff on. You guys decided to join the ride on the podcast. Really excited about that. Thank you for joining us. We really, we're looking for more 5-star reviews. We're really trying to have engagement. We're really trying to, let everybody else know how great you guys love the podcast. So if you have a friend, you tell that friend, hey, dum dum, listen to the Basketball Addicts podcast. There, we gotta listen to us with us. Subscribe and all those type of things, and it really helps us. Everything helps us grow, and that's what we want to do. We want to grow and make this a big community where everybody can talk basketball and all those type of things and debate about how LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan.
Of course.
So yeah. We're gonna have a lot of creative stuff in the off season too. A lot of creative ideas. Last year we did some stuff like fantasy drafts, all-time drafts. We did all-time bracket. What if greatest team had all these players like Bill Russell, Larry Bird versus Kareem, Magic, and Kobe, and like we really always have some unique ideas. So definitely tune in.
Alrighty, so that seems like a great place to just cut it. We're gonna end it there. So I'm Chris Muhammad.
I'm Jason Collins.
And we are the Basketball Addicts. Peace.
Ouch.